We carry the internet in our pockets. We invite it into our homes, our bedrooms, our most intimate spaces. It has become an extension of our own minds, a prosthetic for our memory, our curiosity, and our social lives. We call this vast, interconnected space the World Wide Web, and the name itself implies a kind of totality, a comprehensive map of everything. But the map we use every day, the one drawn for us by Google, by Facebook, by Amazon and Wikipedia, is a profound and comforting lie. It is a carefully curated and brightly lit deception. Imagine it as the official tourist map of a sprawling, ancient, and impossibly large city. It shows you the grand monuments, the bustling shopping districts, the government buildings, and the safe, well-paved superhighways that connect them. It is clean, efficient, and designed to keep you within its comfortable, monetized borders. But that is not the whole city. The tourist map deliberately omits the unlit alleyways, the abandoned industrial zones, the forgotten catacombs beneath the streets, and the condemned districts where the law does not go and where things fester in the deep, perpetual shadows. This other city, this hidden digital world that exists parallel to our own, is immeasurably larger and more complex. We call the first layer of it the deep web. The term deep web often conjures images of criminality and illicit activity, but much of it is actually mundane. The deep web is simply the part of the internet that is not indexed by search engines. It includes your private email inbox, your online banking portal, corporate intranets, academic databases, medical records, and subscription-only content. It's the vast bulk of the internet, hidden behind paywalls and passwords for reasons of privacy and security. It is, for the most part, boring. But if you travel deeper into those unmapped territories, you will eventually find a district within the deep web that is different. A place that is not just unindexed, but is intentionally, architecturally hidden. A place built on a foundation of absolute cryptographic anonymity. This is the dark web. It is a technological fortress made possible primarily by a network called Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. To understand the legends of the dark web, you must first understand the architecture of its shadows. Imagine your internet connection is a letter you wish to send secretly. On the normal internet, you write the letter, put it in an envelope with the destination address, and hand it to a mail carrier who takes it directly there. Your identity and the destination are known. Tor works differently. It takes your letter and puts it inside a series of nested, encrypted envelopes, like layers of an onion. The outermost envelope is addressed to a random computer, a volunteer relay somewhere in the world. That computer opens only the outer layer, finds the address for the next random relay, and sends the remaining envelopes there. This process repeats several times, bouncing your data between random points on the globe before it finally reaches its destination. No single point in the chain knows both the origin and the final destination. It is a system designed to sever the link between who you are and what you are looking at. This technology was created with noble intentions. It was developed by the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory to protect government communications and was later released to the public. It has become an invaluable tool for journalists, activists, and whistleblowers living under oppressive regimes. It allows them to communicate and share information without fear of being discovered, imprisoned, or killed. It is a powerful tool for freedom of speech. But like any place without light, without law, without names or faces, the dark web has also become a fertile breeding ground for the most extreme and disturbing aspects of human nature. It is a place where anything that can be bought or sold with impunity is, and like any dark, uncharted territory throughout human history, it has spawned its own mythology, its own terrifying folklore. These are the legends of the dark web, whispered in forums and on podcasts. Tales of unimaginable horror and depravity that blur the line between paranoid fantasy and a terrifying, potential reality. They are stories of interactive torture and murder, of haunted video games that drive you mad, of professional assassins available for hire with a few clicks and a transfer of cryptocurrency. Today, we are venturing into that city of shadows. We will not be tourists. We will be urban explorers, armed with skepticism and a desire to understand. We will attempt to navigate these dark legends, to meticulously separate the verifiable truth from the embellished fiction. We will seek to understand what is real, what is a hoax, and what lies in that terrifying gray area in between. Our subjects are the three great modern myths of the dark web: the horrifying live-streamed spectacle of the Red Room, the cursed, mind-bending code of the game known as Sad Satan, and the cold, professional, and supposedly thriving marketplace for murder for hire. This is a journey into a place where the worst things you can imagine might just be a few anonymous clicks away, and our task is to determine if the monsters are real, or if we are simply staring into a mirror of our own deepest fears. Let's begin with the most infamous legend of them all, the one that, more than any other, has seeped into popular culture and has come to define the public perception of the dark web's ultimate horror. The Red Room. The concept is as simple in its premise as it is monstrous in its implication. A Red Room, according to the legend, is a hidden, interactive, live-streamed event broadcast from an unknown location on the dark web. For a price, usually a significant sum paid in an untraceable cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Monero, a viewer can purchase access to the stream. But this is not a performance. The star of the show is a victim, a real human being who has been kidnapped and is being held captive. And the viewers are not a passive audience. They are the active participants. They are the directors of this nightmare. Through a chat interface, the story goes, the paying audience can vote on, or in some versions directly command, the tortures that are inflicted upon the victim live and in real time. The depravity is limited only by the imagination of the anonymous crowd. The pricing is tiered. A smaller sum might allow you to vote on the next instrument to be used. A larger sum might allow you to issue a direct command. And the ultimate price, the final and most terrible transaction, allows a single viewer to order the victim's death. It is the complete commodification of human suffering, a snuff film made interactive. It is, perhaps, the most purely evil idea one could conceive of in the digital age, a perfect fusion of technology, anonymity, and humanity's capacity for cruelty. The legend of the Red Room is not a wholly new invention of the dark web era. Its roots run deep in our cultural anxieties about media and violence. The 1983 David Cronenberg body horror masterpiece Videodrome featured a pirated television signal called Videodrome that broadcast what appeared to be a plotless show of realistic torture and murder, which had a profound and transformative effect on its viewers. The underground Japanese film Nikadaruma, or Tumbling Doll of Flesh, became a notorious sensation in the 90s for its shockingly convincing portrayal of a snuff film, so much so that FBI agents reportedly investigated the filmmakers. The term Red Room itself is often traced back to a viral Japanese urban legend and a simple, terrifying pop-up animation from the late 90s. The animation would appear on a user's screen, and a child's voice would repeatedly ask, "Anata wa? Akai heya jie suki disuka? Do you like the Red Room?" Until the user's computer was filled with the question and their screen turned red, allegedly causing the user's death. But the modern dark web version of the legend took on a life of its own in the early 2010s, as Bitcoin and the Tor network moved from the fringes into the mainstream consciousness. It became the ultimate what-if scenario, the logical endpoint of a world with no rules. So we must ask the critical question, are Red Rooms real? Have people actually paid Bitcoin to direct the live torture and murder of a human being? The overwhelming consensus among cybersecurity experts, law enforcement officials, and seasoned dark web researchers is a firm, and perhaps deeply relieving, no. The Red Room, as it is popularly imagined, is almost certainly a myth, a very effective and terrifyingly persistent piece of digital folklore. And the reasons for this conclusion are not based on faith in human decency, but on cold, hard, practical realities. The barriers are not moral, but technical and logistical. First, let's consider the fundamental technology of live video streaming. To stream high-quality, or even watchable video in real time requires a tremendous amount of stable, consistent bandwidth. The Tor network, by its very design, is incredibly ill-suited for this. As we discussed, Tor achieves its anonymity by routing your connection through multiple, random relays around the world. Each bounce, each layer of the onion, adds latency and slows the connection down. It's excellent for sending a text-based email or slowly loading a simple website anonymously. It is notoriously, frustratingly terrible for streaming video. Anyone who has tried to watch a simple YouTube video over Tor can attest to the constant buffering and abysmal quality. A live, interactive video feed of any decent quality would be practically impossible to maintain. It would be a laggy, stuttering, unwatchable mess, constantly freezing and dropping out. The very technology that would be needed to keep the site and its users anonymous makes the proposed service functionally unfeasible. It's like trying to host a live auction where the auctioneer's voice cuts out every 3 seconds. Second, there is the immense logistical problem of the crime itself. A red room is not a simple digital crime. It is a chain of incredibly serious, real-world capital crimes. It would require, at minimum, kidnapping, false imprisonment, aggravated assault, torture, and murder. These are the most serious offenses in any legal system, and they would trigger a massive international multi-agency law enforcement response on a scale rarely seen. The level of operational security needed to pull this off, securing a completely soundproof location, managing a victim over a period of time, setting up a complex and resilient server infrastructure, and evading the full focus force of the FBI, Interpol, and other global policing agencies is monumental. It would be an incredibly high-risk operation for any criminal organization, no matter how sophisticated. Third, and perhaps most tellingly, we must consider the economics of crime on the dark web. The dark web is, above all else, a marketplace. It is driven by profit, and the most successful criminal enterprises are those that are scalable, repeatable, and relatively low risk. Selling drugs, stolen credit card data, counterfeit currency, or malware is a repeatable business model. You can sell the same product to thousands of customers with a relatively low risk of getting caught for each individual transaction. A red room is the polar opposite. It is a one-time, incredibly high-risk, non-scalable event. And for the cynical, profit-driven criminals who populate the dark web, it is far easier, far safer, and far more profitable to scam people who are morbidly curious enough to look for red rooms than it is to actually go through the immense risk and effort of producing one. And that appears to be exactly what happens. The vast majority of so-called red room sites that have ever been discovered and analyzed on the dark web are elaborate and often quite simple scams. A curious and disturbed individual might follow a link they found on a forum. They arrive at a web page with intimidating graphic skulls, blood spatters, dark and edgy fonts. They see a countdown timer, ticking down to the next live show. They see a Bitcoin or Monero address, with instructions to send a specific amount for access. They might even see a sample video, which is invariably a pirated clip from a horror movie or a staged, fake torture scene. The user, caught in a mix of fear and morbid fascination, sends their cryptocurrency. They wait for the countdown to hit 0, and then nothing. The page might be replaced with a mocking message, like, "Thanks for the cash, idiot," or it might simply go dark, displaying a "for not found" error. The scammer walks away with the cryptocurrency, having preyed on the morbid curiosity and dark impulses of the user. There is no victim, no torture, no live stream, just a simple, effective, and untraceable theft. In 2015, this very scenario played out in a very public way, dragging the myth into the light of the surface web. A security researcher and hacker from the UK named Chris Montero, who runs the blog Pirate London, decided to investigate a supposed Red Room site that was gaining significant traction in the media. The site was slickly designed and claimed it was going to feature the live execution of a captured ISIS soldier, allegedly to be carried out by a rival terrorist group. The story was picked up by several news outlets, fanning the flames of the legend. Montero, along with other researchers, decided to dissect the site. They analyzed its source code, its hosting, and its claims. What they found was a complete and utter fabrication. The website was not even hosted on the dark web. It was a normal ClearNet website, simply made to look dark and edgy. Its source code was a mess of copied and pasted elements from a simple website building tool. The countdown timer was a generic JavaScript plugin. The claims of being run by a terrorist group were baseless. It was, in short, a complete and amateurish hoax, designed to do one thing: lure in gullible media-stoked users and scare them into donating Bitcoin. Montero's investigation was a crucial piece of public debunking, showing in real time how the engine of the Red Room myth actually works. It's not fueled by murder, but by hype and scams. So, if there is no credible, verifiable evidence of a single real Red Room ever existing, why does the legend persist with such tenacity? Because it is the perfect modern boogeyman. It is a myth that speaks directly to our deepest contemporary fears about technology and the dark side of human nature. It encapsulates the fear that anonymity is not a shield for the powerless, but a mask for monsters. It suggests that if you strip away all societal rules, all laws, and all accountability, the absolute worst of humanity will inevitably bubble to the surface. The Red Room is a powerful cautionary tale about the darkness that lies at the heart of the anonymous internet. It may be a myth, but it's a myth that feels true to many, because it confirms our worst, most cynical suspicions about what people are capable of when they believe no one is watching. It is a work of fiction that reflects a potential, terrifying truth about ourselves. While the interactive horrors of the Red Room may be confined to the realm of fiction and financial scams, our next legend takes us a significant step closer to a tangible, verifiable, and deeply unsettling piece of digital horror. This is not just a story or a website. This is an artifact, a program you can download, a game you can play, a game that was supposedly discovered on the dark web, a game that contained not just disturbing imagery and sound, but was rumored to be a piece of cursed code, capable of altering a user's computer and perhaps even their psychological state. This is the enduring and complex mystery of Sad Satan. In late June of 2015, the owner of a popular niche YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner, a man known to his audience only as Jamie, made an announcement to his subscribers. His channel was dedicated to a specific passion: finding and playing strange, little-known, and often bizarre independent horror games. He was a digital archaeologist of the weird. He told his audience that he had been contacted by an anonymous fan. This fan claimed to have found a link to a game on the dark web, and they wanted Jamie to be the one to play it and share it with the world. The fan warned him that the game was deeply unsettling. The name of the game file was sadsatan.exe. Jamie, ever the intrepid explorer of digital horror, was intrigued. He downloaded the file, taking precautions by running it on a secondary system, and began to play. Over the course of 5 videos, uploaded between June 25th and July 4th, 2015, he documented his playthrough for his growing audience. What he unveiled was unlike anything they, or he, had ever seen. Sad Satan was not a game in the traditional sense. There were no clear objectives, no enemies to fight, no health bars or points to score. It was what some might call a walking simulator, set in a series of stark, minimalist, and deeply oppressive monochromatic mazes. The player navigates through seemingly endless, shifting, and nonsensically designed corridors. The only soundtrack is a constant, looping collage of distorted, unnerving audio. The sounds were a hellscape of industrial noise, reversed audio clips, disembodied groans, and unsettling, unidentifiable samples. The very act of moving through this space was an exercise in psychological endurance. But it was the imagery, the flashes of content that would periodically interrupt the bleak corridors, that made the game so profoundly disturbing. At random intervals, the screen would flash with black and white, still photographs. The images were a curated gallery of real-world horror and depravity, often featuring infamous public figures whose dark secrets had been exposed. There were pictures of the disgraced British entertainer and now confirmed serial pedophile and necrophile, Jimmy Savile. There was a photo of the Australian entertainer Rolf Harris, another beloved public figure who was later convicted of numerous child abuse offenses. There were images associated with the Japanese doomsday cult Aum Shinrikyo and its leader Shoko Asahara, the group responsible for the horrific 1995 Tokyo subway sarin gas attack. There was an image of the Marquis de Sade, the 18th-century French aristocrat whose libertine sexuality and writings on cruelty gave us the term sadism. Interspersed with these images were cryptic, threatening messages that would flash on screen, often in a bloody, red font. Messages like, "I can track you," "You are on my list," "5 victims," and the chillingly simple "Suffering does not end." The audio was just as sinister and layered. As the community began to analyze the videos, they identified some of the reversed audio clips. They found what sounded like interviews with the notorious cult leader Charles Manson. They heard what many believed to be a distorted clip of a Swedish Rhapsody number station, a type of enigmatic shortwave radio broadcast believed to be used to send coded messages to spies during the Cold War. The entire experience was a masterfully crafted piece of psychological horror, a descent into a surreal, threatening, and deeply malevolent digital space that seemed to be actively hostile to the player. As Jamie uploaded his videos, the story of Sad Satan exploded across the internet. It became a viral sensation within the horror and gaming communities. It was the perfect dark web artifact. It was created by an anonymous source. It was deeply and genuinely disturbing, and it seemed to hint at a darker, more sinister purpose. But as Jamie continued to play, things reportedly took a strange and more personal turn. He reported to his audience that as he played the game, a text file named hello.txt was repeatedly and inexplicably created on his computer's desktop. The file was filled with what appeared to be cryptographic gibberish. He became genuinely concerned that the game was more than just a game, that it was a piece of malware that was actively modifying his computer's files. After uploading his 5th video, he announced he was stopping his playthrough. He claimed the game had automatically self-deleted from his computer, but not before spawning one last text file on his desktop, this one containing the simple, threatening message, "Bye-bye." Fearing for his computer's safety and his own, he then deleted the original game file that the anonymous fan had sent him. The only record of it left was his video series. The mystery deepened and fractured the community. Was this a genuine haunted artifact from the dark web? Was Jamie a brave explorer who had stumbled upon something truly dangerous? Or was he the creator of the game himself, staging an elaborate and brilliant hoax to grow his YouTube channel? The internet was fiercely divided. Some believed his story completely, hailing him as a hero of obscure horror. Others accused him of faking the entire thing, pointing to inconsistencies in his story and the convenient, drama-filled ending. The story then takes another, much darker twist. With the original game file gone, the community was desperate to get their hands on it. Soon, a user on the 4chan forums, on the Horror Paranormal board, claimed to have the real, clean version of the game, free of the malware that Jamie had supposedly encountered. They posted a download link. Many eager fans, desperate to experience the mystery for themselves, downloaded this new version. What they found was not the game Jamie had played. This version of the game was different. It still had the maze-like structure, but the intermittent flashing images were gone. In their place were images of extreme real-life gore and, most disturbingly, graphic and illegal images of child abuse. This version was, without a doubt, a piece of actively malicious software, designed to shock, traumatize, and implicate anyone who downloaded it. It was also reportedly laden with actual malware, including keyloggers and other programs that could steal a user's personal information. This vile, corrupted version of Sad Satan became known as the clone or the gore version. It became clear that there were now at least two, and possibly more, versions of Sad Satan in the wild. The version Jamie played, with its psychological horror and real-world villains, and the far more vile and dangerous gore version being distributed on 4chan. This led to the emergence of a new, more nuanced theory, one that has become the most widely accepted explanation for the Sad Satan phenomenon. This theory posits that the original creator of the game, who remains anonymous, is a genuine, but unknown, digital artist. They created Sad Satan as an experimental piece of psychological horror, a commentary on the hidden evil that lurks behind public faces. When their game started to gain notoriety through Jamie's channel, a group of malicious trolls on 4chan saw an opportunity. They co-opted the name and the legend. They created a new, far more evil version, packed it with illegal and traumatizing content, and released it into the wild, using the game's mysterious reputation as a lure to trick people into downloading it. In this view, Jamie was not the creator, but the unwitting promoter. The original creator, horrified that their art was being used to distribute illegal pornography and malware, may have simply vanished, abandoning their creation. The mystery of Sad Satan's true creator has never been solved. They remain as anonymous as the game's content is disturbing. Unlike Red Rooms, Sad Satan is real. It is a tangible file, an artifact you can find online, though I would strongly advise against searching for or downloading any version of it. The game exists, but its story is a perfect example of how legends are born and twisted on the internet. It likely started as a piece of obscure, unsettling art, and through the engine of viral hype and the malicious actions of anonymous trolls, it transformed into a legend of a cursed, malevolent program from the deepest parts of the dark web. It's a story not just about a scary game, but about how easily art can be corrupted into a weapon, and how a narrative can be hijacked by the very darkness it seeks to explore. This brings us to our third and final legend for today. This is the one that moves from the psychological and the theatrical into the cold, hard finality of real-world violence. This is the one that touches upon the most primal fear of all, the fear of a violent, premeditated death at the hands of a complete stranger. This is the murky and allegedly thriving world of the dark web hitman. The idea is as simple as it is chilling, pulled straight from the pages of a spy novel or a gangster film. On the dark web, hidden behind layers of Tor encryption, there are websites where you can anonymously browse, select, and hire a professional assassin. You provide a Targeta name, an address, a photograph, and you provide a payment, almost always in a privacy-focused cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. An anonymous, professional killer then carries out the murder cleanly and efficiently, making it look like an accident or a random street crime. These sites, the legend claims, operate with a terrifying, cold-blooded professionalism, like any other e-commerce platform. They have customer reviews, tiered pricing based on the target's public profile and security detail, and even escrow services to ensure that the payment is only released to the hitman upon successful completion of the job. It is the Amazon of assassination, the Uber of murder. Dozens of websites claiming to offer these services have existed over the years. They often adopt intimidating, edgy names designed to project an aura of danger and authenticity. They call themselves things like Cthulhu, Sinaloa Cartel Killers, Besa Mafia, and Chechen Mob. They feature slick, professional-looking interfaces with dark color schemes, images of firearms, and confident, declarative statements about their reliability and discretion. To a casual and perhaps desperate observer, they look terrifyingly real, and they have contributed to a pervasive and deeply mistaken belief that the dark web is teeming with real-life contract killers sitting by their computers, waiting for their next assignment to pop up in their inbox. But once again, when we pull back the curtain, when we meticulously examine the evidence and apply a lens of criminal and logistical logic, the entire terrifying enterprise collapses under its own weight. Much like the legend of the Red Room, the overwhelming, near-unanimous conclusion of law enforcement agencies, journalists, and security researchers who have monitored these sites for years is that the vast majority, if not every single one of them, has been an elaborate scam. There is no credible, verifiable evidence that any of these public-facing hitman websites has ever been successfully linked to a single actual murder. Think about it from the perspective of a genuine professional contract killer. Such individuals, if they exist in the real world, survive based on one principle: absolute discretion. Their entire career depends on not getting caught. The very last thing a real assassin would want to do is advertise their illegal services on a website, even an anonymous one. A website creates a permanent digital trail. It attracts attention from law enforcement agencies around the world, who actively monitor the dark web. It brings in a clientele of amateurs, angry, emotional, and reckless people who are highly likely to make mistakes and lead the police right to your digital doorstep. A real contract killer, if they exist, operates through tightly controlled, trusted, real-world networks built on years of personal vetting, not through an online shopping cart that any desperate person with a grudge and a few Bitcoin can access. So what are these sites, really? They are primarily incredibly cynical and effective scams designed to part desperate, angry, and malicious people from their money. Imagine the scenario. Someone is in a state of extreme emotional distress. They are going through a bitter divorce, have been cheated by a business partner, or feel wronged in some profound way. In their rage and desperation, they go looking for an extreme solution. They stumble upon one of these hitman-for-hire sites. It looks professional, promises a simple, final solution to all their problems. They make contact with the administrator. They provide the name and photo of their target. They are quoted a price, often tens of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin. They make the transfer, and then nothing. The hitman takes the money and vanishes. The website might go offline. The would-be client has absolutely no recourse. They cannot go to the police and file a report saying, "Excuse me, officer. I tried to hire a murderer on the internet and they ripped me off." The scam is, in its own way, perfect. It has a built-in non-disclosure agreement with its victims. It preys on the absolute worst of human intentions and turns that malice into pure, untraceable profit. But this particular myth has a far darker and more dangerous side than simply financial scams. Sometimes, these sites are not run by scammers looking for Bitcoin. They are run by law enforcement. They are elaborate, long-term sting operations, or honeypots. An individual consumed by rage contacts the site. They negotiate the terms. They provide the name of a target. They transfer the money as a down payment. In doing so, they have just handed a federal law enforcement agency a full, recorded confession and all the evidence needed to prosecute them for criminal solicitation of murder. There have been numerous, well-documented cases of people being arrested and sentenced to long prison terms after trying to hire a hitman on a dark website that was, in fact, an FBI operation from the very beginning. The most famous, and perhaps the most illuminating case study of this intersection between the hitman myth and the scamming reality is that of Ross Ulbricht, the creator and operator of the infamous dark web marketplace, the Silk Road. The Silk Road was the Amazon of illegal drugs, a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. But during Ulbricht's trial in 2015, federal prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence, including detailed chat logs, suggesting that Ulbricht, operating under his famous pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, had attempted to hire assassins on at least 6 different occasions to eliminate former employees or scammers who he believed posed a threat to his operation. The evidence was damning. The chat logs showed him negotiating prices, providing names and addresses of the targets, and discussing methods. He allegedly paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin for these hits. This was presented to the world as proof of the dark, violent heart of the Silk Road's founder. However, here is the crucial and often overlooked twist in the story. None of the 6 targeted individuals were ever actually harmed. Not a single one. In one case, the supposed hitman even provided Ulbricht with faked photographs of the murder to prove the job was done and collect the final payment. It is now widely believed by journalists and researchers who have studied the case that Ulbricht was not communicating with real assassins at all. He was being scammed. He, the kingpin of the dark web, was wiring huge sums of his illicit fortune to other, cleverer dark web criminals who were simply pretending to be hitmen, taking his money and doing absolutely nothing. The story of the Silk Road assassinations is not proof that dark web hitmen are real. It is perhaps the most high-profile, expensive, and ironic proof that they are a scam, a con so effective that it fooled the most powerful man on the dark web himself. So, the Hitman for Hire marketplace, much like the Red Room, appears to be a powerful and pervasive fiction. It is a digital landscape populated not by cold-blooded, trench-coated killers, but by cynical scammers, patient law enforcement agents, and the desperate, foolish, and malicious people who try to use their services. The myth of the professional, accessible online assassin is more powerful, more enduring, and certainly more profitable for the scammers than the reality could ever be. And that is the core truth that seems to lie at the heart of these great, dark legends. The dark web is a real place, and real, terrible crimes do occur there every single day. Drugs that ruin lives are sold. Personal data that destroys privacy is stolen. Vile and illegal pornography is created and distributed. It is not a safe or pleasant place. But its most theatrical, most cinematic, most gothic horrors, the interactive torture chambers, the haunted, mind-destroying video games, the slickly professional assassins' guilds are largely the product of our own collective, fearful imagination. They are hoaxes, scams, art projects, and urban legends, born from a kernel of possibility and then amplified, distorted, and spread by the frictionless engine of the Internet's rumor mill. Why do we create and spread these stories with such fervor? Perhaps because they serve a deep and ancient purpose. They are modern-day morality tales. They are the here be dragons, scrawled on the unlit edges of our new digital map. They warn us of the profound dangers of unchecked anonymity. They serve as a stark reminder that the same technology that can empower dissidents and protect the vulnerable can also provide a perceived shield for our darkest, most monstrous impulses. The legends of the dark web are a reflection of our deepest anxieties about the hidden spaces we cannot see and the human potential for evil that we fear might be lurking there, just out of sight. They are the folklore of the 21st century, the new campfire stories, told not with a flashlight under the chin, but through the cold, isolating blue glow of a computer screen. The truth of the dark web may be more mundane, more cynically transactional than the legends suggest. It is a world driven less by satanic horror and more by simple, predictable human greed. But in a way, that reality is just as unsettling. The real monsters are not the demons in the code or the assassins waiting in the digital shadows. They are the ordinary people who are willing to believe these legends are true, the people who go looking for them in the dark, and the scammers who are all too happy to build a business model on that darkness. If this deep exploration of the internet's most unsettling myths has captured your curiosity, and you wish to continue plumbing the depths of the unknown, consider subscribing to this channel for more investigations into the shadows. Activate the notification bell to ensure you don't miss our next journey. And now, I invite you to share your thoughts and your own knowledge in the comments below. Have you encountered other dark web legends or myths that deserve exploration? What do you believe these stories truly say about our modern relationship with technology and our own hidden natures? The darkness is vast, and the conversation is how we begin to bring a little light to it. Because while the most sensational stories may be fiction, the fear they inspire and the darkness in ourselves that they reflect is very, very real.